So welcome to this video. So we're now on Unit 3, which is Managing Strategic Change. And we're going to look at Learning Outcome 1. So this is a unit which is asking you to demonstrate your knowledge. Now, let's have a look. There are 4 ACs, so 4 learning criteria within this particular learning outcome. Now, AC 1.1 is asking you to evaluate the characteristics and application of a range of change management tools. Now, it's asking you to evaluate a range of change management tools. So, examples of ones which you should research and the ones in which I will send you on my further reading plan would be things like Kotter's 8 Steps Challenge, you've got McKenzie's 7S model, or the ADKAR model. Now, obviously, you're not going to remember these all off by heart just by listening to this video. So do please email me or WhatsApp me, and I would have also put them in with your assessment plan to demonstrate these. Now, don't just tell me about them. You've got to evaluate them for me, okay? And it's asking you to evaluate them, how they might work in different organisations. So tell me why Kotter's approach, say, for example, might work well within a geographic style of business, but might not work well if the business was more functional. Or why McKinsey's 7S model is more functional based, but less geographic. So that's what I want to see when I talk about having that level 5 critical work and having the evaluation within your work. And then, like I said, and what I mentioned there is it's asking you to apply it to organisational models. A functional business model is a business which is split into functions, so the marketing, the sales, the service, the accounts, the HR. Each department within the business has a set function. A geographical business is something which is now more nationwide or international. So you can talk about how one approach might apply better to the other approach. But the key to that is to doing that independent research, which is what I'm going to ask you to do. And also feel free to ask me for more online support or support when I see you in your next face-to-face meeting. AC 1.2 then asks you to analyse stakeholder mapping techniques used to evaluate change. So, first of all, evaluate. So again, be critical. Tell me what's right, tell me what's wrong. The second thing you need to know, stakeholders. We've learnt this throughout the programme. Stakeholders can be anyone who has an interest in the business. A customer could be a stakeholder, an employer could be a stakeholder, the owner is a stakeholder, the board of directors are stakeholders. They all have an interest in the business. However, the key thing is they all have different interests in the business. The employer has different interests to the owners, and that's what you need to remember. So analyse stakeholder mapping techniques, manage to evaluate change. So when you're using a mapping technique to analyse stakeholders, what this is actually doing is you're evaluating each stakeholder's purpose, the power that they have, the influence they have, and the priority that they have. Because when you're evaluating change, some stakeholders may take more of a priority than others. So it's important to map them using a technique to understand which ones are your bigger priority right now. You may think in some cases your shareholders are or your customers are. It's up to you when you do the mapping technique. And again, that's asking you to analyse, so to tell me about that. That leads us nicely on to AC 1.3. Analyse techniques to evaluate change. So when you want to change something in your business, you're doing it for a reason. To increase customer satisfaction, to increase profitability, to increase, shares in the company. You need to be able to evaluate where the company is in order to understand how you're going to apply the change. So I want you to analyse the techniques in which you'll evaluate this. One technique that you could evaluate are key performance indicators, PDPs, or various things like that you use as a manager. Using quantitative and qualitative types of research, just to give you a bit of an explanation of those. Qualitative styles of research comes from more meetings and questionnaires and understanding writtenly what people are wanting, whereas quantitative data will come from more statistics and reviews and charts analysing where the business performance is right now and where it needs to change. You could look at the customer satisfaction reports or the profits in the business as well. They could be other key areas which are telling you what needs to be changed. So analyse them and tell me about them, and analyse loads. Tell me about KPIs, PDPs, profit reviews, quantitative data. It'll really add a lot more context into your work. And then that leads us on to AC 1.4, which is now asking you to evaluate the relationship between change management, change continuity, and crisis management. So here we go. I'm going to give you a brief explanation, and then you can also go away and do your independent research on that. Change management is about understanding what's wrong with the business and moving it in an agreed way forward, looking at the impacts it will have on the business, from the staff to the operation to the customers. It's a very physical, demanding process which allows a lot of strategy, a lot of thinking, and like I said, really understanding the impacts it will have on the organisation. Business continuity management is about identifying the current risks within the business and coming up with a risk prevention plan. It's understanding where failure may occur and how the business can be more resilient in the future. So you could almost say that this way is a little bit more about planning and understanding how to keep the business from constantly going stronger and stronger. Crisis management is looking at the potential threats within a very decisive, specific moment in time, looking at crisis responses, including assessing the responses. It's looking at outcomes, including recovery, reassessing. You could say crisis management is more about what's happening right there, right now, whereas that business continuity is almost trying to avoid it happening in the future. But crisis management, no matter how much planning will always occur, will always happen. You'll always have a financial crash. If you work in the travel industry, you'll always have the threat of terrorism, which will force you into crisis management. So no matter how much you plan during business continuity, you'll always still have to have crisis management. Now, they are the 4 ACs, which will get you through learning outcome 1 of managing strategic change unit.